So, I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but it feels like every month there's a new Democrat that the Democratic Party establishment is throwing their support behind. So, one month it's Joe Biden, then the next month it's Cory Booker, then it's Kamala Harris, and then one weekend it's Oprah Winfrey. But that was short-lived. Now, it's Joe Kennedy III. Yes, a member of the Kennedy dynasty. So, this is the only reason that anybody is talking about Joe Kennedy. It's because he is a Kennedy. Otherwise, there would be no reason to talk about him. And the reason that I'm talking about him is because of his archaic view on marijuana. Now, I feel like, and I hope, and it seems like when I look at polling, the vast majority of people now understand that we have been lied to for years and years and years about cannabis. But Joe Kennedy, in his lack of wisdom, his brain is stuck in the 40s. So here's what Joe Kennedy believes about marijuana. The 37-year-old Democrat congressman has taken heat from the left over his opposition to marijuana legalization, including for medical purposes, which has become increasingly popular both within his party and across the country. Pro-marijuana outlets scoured Kennedy's voting history in the House and found that he was among the few Democratic representatives who consistently voted against even mildly pro-marijuana bills, even measures that many Republicans supported. So, Joe Kennedy is so backwards on marijuana that he is even against medical marijuana bills. Even bills that Republicans have supported. How do the Democrats find these people? I mean, Kennedy, I guess, is in a family that has a history with the Democratic Party, so that's how he was found. But how in the hell does someone this stupid win an election? You know why? Because of their privilege, because of their connections, because of their last name. That's why Joe Kennedy has the seat that he currently has. Because otherwise, I don't know how he would win an election being this fucking stupid. Now, there's more, and it gets even crazier. So if you haven't seen these quotes from Joe Kennedy, especially the last one, get ready. Quote, "I don't think marijuana should be legalized," Kennedy flatly told Boston Magazine in 2016, 2 months before the Massachusetts voters approved a referendum to do just that. Quote, "He still has public health and safety concerns regarding issues like driving under the influence and adolescent access, which he hopes the state will prioritize as it moves closer to implementation," Kennedy spokeswoman Emily Kaufman said. "If you smelled marijuana in a car, you could search a car," Kennedy said. "When it became decriminalized, you couldn't do that." This last one. If you smelled marijuana in a car, you could search a car. He is fighting for individuals to have less freedoms. Not only that, he is actively working against minority communities. So this stat is quoted all the time because it's fact and it shows just how ridiculously one-sided the legal system is on marijuana. Black people and white people smoke marijuana at the same rate, but black people are 4 times more likely to be charged for a marijuana crime, marijuana offense, than white people are. There is obvious racial disparity in the drug laws. Joe Kennedy thinks that that's cool. No problem with that. If a cop smells marijuana in your car, they should be allowed to search it, because marijuana means that you are a criminal, a bad person. That's what he thinks. his uneducated view on this subject has more power over the vast majority of people who are actually educated on this subject and show in polling that they support the legalization of marijuana. Now, who is with Joe Kennedy on this issue? You might be surprised, or you won't be surprised at all. How about right-wing commentator Laura Ingraham, who tweeted out this? Yes, he is smart on this. Joe Kennedy III explains why he's one of the few Democrats not so hot about pot. So right-wing Fox News host Laura Ingraham approves of Joe Kennedy. Just fantastic. It's so good to see Democrats getting the support of crazy right-wing Fox News hosts. I love it. This is what I call reaching across the aisle and being pulled down into the abyss. Why do people this stupid, like Joe Kennedy, get elected? I don't know. They don't represent you. All they do is have a nice fancy name and lots of money from their daddy, and they're able to get into government purely based on money, special interests, and nepotism. Awesome. Now, while Joe Kennedy is with the crazy right-wingers on this issue, his grandfather, Bobby Kennedy, actually questioned marijuana criminalization 50 years ago.
The whole question of whether we are lowering the barriers with communism and on one side of the world, and we're signing a proliferation treaty of control of atomic weapons in one part of the world, and in another part of the world we're killing people because they're communists. Sounds inconsistent, and it is inconsistent. Or the whole question of, for instance, of drugs. We permit baths, cigarettes, which kill far more people every year than marijuana, for instance.
That's right.
But there is tremendous economic power behind those people, and so that we don't pass laws to deal with that, even though our Department of Health has said that they're so dangerous. Kill, 350,000 people a year.
So there we have Joe Kennedy's grandfather, Bobby Kennedy, talking about the hypocrisy of banning marijuana when cigarettes kill thousands of people a year. So why is Joe Kennedy so hypocritical on this issue? Well, first of all, I do think that he's genuinely misinformed on the topic. But even apart from that, let's look at who gives him money, because that is usually where we find some clear answers. Now, if you look at that, you can see that apart from getting tons of money from bankers, healthcare is the #2 industry where Joe Kennedy gets his money from. So this means that Joe Kennedy gets a ton of money from Big Pharma. And who is Big Pharma's mortal enemy? Marijuana. Because it undercuts their ability to make more money off addicts with pain pills. I really think that Joe Kennedy doesn't understand how safe marijuana is. I truly think that he's oblivious to it. But he's oblivious to it because he's allowed himself to be taken over by special interest money. He only gets to hear one side. Joe Kennedy isn't going out there talking to marijuana activists about why they use the drug. He's only listening to the arguments from Big Pharma and people that say, no, marijuana shouldn't be legalized. Even though this year Canada is legalizing it, 15 years ago, Portugal decriminalized all drugs. And what happened? Addiction rates went down, overdoses went down, deaths went down. But no, let's not use actual data from countries that actually implemented these policies. No, let's just go with our feeling, our gut. Let's go with the propaganda that has taken over our minds for the last 50 years on this subject. Let's not question what we've been told. Let's just fall in line, take my money from the healthcare industry and shut the fuck up about actual facts. Hey, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button below and consider throwing me a few bucks on Patreon at patreon.com/therationalnational or therationalnational.com/join.